from Putin's perspective, when you see the United States and the UK drop billions of dollars of weapons and military training into the Ukraine, like how does that make you feel when you see shit like that happen?
Yeah, so I want to be very careful here because I'm not worried about my reputation, or I'm not worried about anything like that. I want to be careful because the narrative coming from Putin and the secondary narrative coming out of China right now are very important narratives that I want to get into. And I want to make sure the whole world, everybody listening, understands those two narratives. That is the narrative that says that this was escalated because of our media. There's no way you cannot escalate what's known as an interstate war. This is considered an interstate war. The sovereignty of one nation being invaded by another nation. Interstate. Not the same thing as a civil war. Civil wars are called intrastate wars. This is an interstate war. That cannot be escalated by media and rhetoric and saber rattling. It takes someone making the conscious decision to invade someone else's sovereignty for interstate war to happen. So I say that because what we all saw happen in media in the last few weeks was a major mistake on the hands of the Biden administration. And I mean, you can think whatever you want to about the current president. His foreign policy decisions for the last 2 years have been flawed. And it's difficult to manage foreign policy in a country that doesn't care about foreign policy. We're Americans. We care about American policy. We care about domestic policy. We care about economy. We care about public health. We don't really care what happens to the rest of the world.
The citizens care about that, not necessarily the politicians.
Kind of the other way around. The citizens don't care. I mean, honestly, anybody listening, as you and I sit here, we don't care about Ukrainians, dude. We don't care about what's happening in Ukraine.
Right.
We don't care about Russians. Tomorrow morning, what we care about is, are we going to make money in our business?
Right.
Are my kids safe? Can I drive to work? What's the price of gas?
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, it seems like the politicians are the ones that are always worried about what's going on overseas. They're not so much worried about homelessness or anything that's going on inside, education or anything like that. They're more worried about spending billions of dollars in the Ukraine.
Yeah, well, they're interested in looking like a world power, because when you're powerful, people see you as secure and stable. Where do people want it? Where does the world want to invest? In the most stable, most powerful country. So the United States is rich because everybody invests in the United States. Chinese invest here, Russians invest here, Brazilians invest here, Mexicans. Everybody with money invests in American companies, American property, American policy. We we hold a seat in the UN Security Council. We're a major player in NATO. We're the big powerful dog. We're the global superpower. Everybody wants to put their money, everybody wants to bet on the winning horse. If you lose that front runner position, people are going to invest in someone else. Russia's tactics are to make themselves look big and strong so that they can win more of the world's wealth. China's desires are to look super strong so they can win more of the world's wealth. Because if you have people investing in you, it's just like being the biggest company on the block. So the reason I'm kind of coming back to this is because the media narrative isn't what got people spun up. The media narrative isn't what made Russia invade Ukraine. Russia was going to invade Ukraine. The mistake that Biden made is that he came out and publicly exposed that he had received an intelligence report that the invasion was coming soon. If you recall, in early February, mid-February, he made an announcement. He was like, hey, we just got an intelligence report that says the invasion's going to happen any day now. Once he said that, everybody picked up that narrative. Any day now. They're going to invade any day. Could be tomorrow. Could be the next 2 days. Could be in the next few weeks. It's all anybody would talk about. I remember seeing headlines day after day after day saying, any day now, any day now, any day now. That's not news either. That's just what gets the whole world watching. Because now it's like if you could imagine a new Avengers movie coming out where every single day a new headline is talking about, hey, the next Avengers movie is dropping tomorrow. Everybody's going to keep checking. Oh, did it drop yet? Did it drop yet? Did it drop yet? That's exactly what happened inadvertently because Biden decided to say he was probably trying to do a deterrent, early action deterrent move to keep Russia from invading. But either way, in hindsight, it wasn't a great call.
You think it was really to keep Russia from invading? It doesn't seem like what we did was to keep Russia from invading. It seems like it was more of a provoke.
Yeah, so that, again, this is why I want to, my company, Everyday Spy, is there to teach people how espionage works and how you can see it play out in everyday life. It is provocative. It is provocative in terms of it being interesting to basically come out and say, we have intelligence that says this is going to happen. That is a provocative move in terms of it being interesting, and everybody wants to pay attention to that. I believe that the Biden administration came out and said that because they wanted everybody to pay attention to it, because now what that would do is put pressure on Russia not to invade, because he just took away their element of surprise. That's what if you look at the strategy happening in Ukraine right now, first of all, it's the exact same strategy that was applied in Georgia in 2008 when they invaded Georgia. Almost verbatim, almost the exact same strategy. Yep, and we can talk about that if you want to. It's very similar to what they did in Crimea in 2014, but this is the Russian MO. We know the Russian MO. They have a way of doing this, and it works for them. And again, we can talk about any and all of this if you want to, Danny. But the reason that Biden and the media, they were not provoking Russia. That is Russian propaganda. That is Chinese propaganda to try to get the world to think that the U.S. is at fault for Russia's decisions. It is not true. It is not true.
But can you think of it from Putin's point of view? When you see the UK and the US dropping billions of dollars worth of weapons and military training on the border, on its own border, like, wouldn't you, if from put yourself in Putin's shoes,
right?
Don't you think that's more of a provocation?
That's more of a provocation than the media saying that Russia's going to invade. Biden coming out and saying Russia's going to invade. That's not a provocative move. Dropping a bunch of money, taking Ukrainian special forces and starting to train them with U.S. troops and elite, that is a provocative move. But it's provocative. It is actually a threatening move because Russia was already invested in the conflict for the last 15 or 20 years because they have Russian sympathizers, Russian separatists in those two communities, Donetsk and whatever the other one was, Luhansk or something like that. Those two breakaway groups are already essentially fighting for independence, fighting for separation, fighting to become part of the Russian Federation again against the Ukrainians. So when he sees investment in troops and when he sees actual support directly to the Ukrainian military infrastructure, that is for sure a threat against those independent nations. That was another mistake of the Biden administration, to start pouring a bunch of money and training into a region that already had a legitimate military intra-state conflict, because now that gave Russia essentially the international go-ahead to say, if the United States is going to support the Ukrainians, we're going to support the separatists. And that validated his ability to go in and essentially name those two breakaway regions as independent states, which is what started the whole conflict, if you recall, just a few days ago.